Hello everyone, I am Dr. Tushar Kshirsagar and I am going to discuss a very nice case of androgenetic alopecia where we implanted 4,360 grafts to cover quite a decent area. And just as a heads up, now this patient he came to me primarily for doing a scalp micropigmentation. Now scalp micropigmentation is just making small tiny dots which look like as if you have done a fully shaved head even if you don't have any hair. Now he was a little skeptical in the beginning, so he wanted to try scalp micropigmentation as a first thing, and then later on if he likes it then he might consider a hair transplant. But as you can see, he has quite a bit of androgenetic alopecia. This is grade 6. Medical treatment hardly is going to be useful, and you can notice the scalp micropigmentation done. So when we did the scalp micropigmentation, so sort of he trusted us and he was ready after that for getting a hair transplant done. So just as a heads up, if you come across any dotted picture in the planted area, that's scalp micropigmentation. Now he had quite a bit of recession, his temporal triangles were also gone, and very fine hair in the donor area. He was using minoxidil but not very frequently, and very honestly many people don't like using minoxidil all the time, so that's why they give up on minoxidil as a treatment. And he wanted to start finasteride but he never started it. So once the situation advances to this extent, then hair transplant only becomes as an option. So we first estimated the count by looking at the donor area. We can guess, and it's an educated guess, that we can harvest about 3,500 grafts from the back of the scalp, and we did harvest another set of 1,000 grafts from the beard region. These are these pre-photographs. Now if you see the donor area, it's very dense. So that's the reason I could manage to harvest 3,500 grafts, and all of those hair were pretty high quality, high thickness. He has some white hairs in the back of the scalp, but that's completely fine. You can harvest white hair as well. There's no problem. Especially if you have spread out white hair, you rather would make the same appearance in the frontal area as well. And if you want, you can always do a hair dye. This is a close-up of his donor area, and if you see, the donor area looks very dense. Now one of the things which I wanted to point out, a lot of people, hair transplant surgeons, I see many harvesting sessions done from this part. Now if you see, this hair is already thinned out, and sometimes people take even from this lower portion of the neck. Now these two regions are not permanent. The only region which is permanent is this. So you should avoid harvesting from this part and this part, upper and lower side. The only harvesting zone is this. This is what is called as permanent zone, and that's what we did. We harvested 3,500 grafts from the permanent zone of the scalp. Now there was another thing which was happening along with this. He had crown area which was thinning. So for our markings, for our plan of transplant was never to cover the crown area with a hair transplant, because we were in a short supply of the grafts, because we had 3,500 from the scalp as well as the sides, and 1,000 grafts from the beard region. That comes to around 4,500 grafts, and to cover till the crown region it definitely requires about 7,000 to 8,000 grafts. So we decided that this crown region we would cover with medical treatment. Everything else was going to be done by a hair transplant. These are the markings. If you notice, I make the markings a bit more exaggerated, because this is what the line we are going to follow. This is called a central peak. This should be there. Of course, when you get hair, it's not very prominent, and the lines are going to be zigzag. This is how the hairline should be. The hairline should be zigzag. Now these are the areas and sections that we going to do, and this is immediate after the procedure, and you see the peak again. It was very nice quality of grafts and very dense packing and really nicely spread out grafts. And I'll show you the details of the hairline in another slide. So here it is, these are just post-op photos, and this was the final day where we did the hair transplant from the beard, harvested from the beard and planted in the back of the scalp. So if you notice, this region is actually only the grafts which we harvested from the donor area of the back of the scalp and the sides of the scalp. This portion here is planted with the beard hair, and if you notice the layout, now this is what I want to highlight. The reason this looks so beautiful is because we do it with we do the implantation with graft implanters, and that's why when I implant, I have all the freedom to implant the way I want to. Now here is that here is the frontal peak, and this is the zigzag lines that we follow. This is what gives my hair transplant so natural look. Along with that, one of the things which you should notice is these are scattered hair which are single hair grafts which are planted, and these are very deliberate. These are done because these are called sentinel hairs, because when you do if you look at anybody's hairline, few straggler hairs are here and there spread out on the frontal hairline, and you want to replicate as much closely as natural hairline is. So that's why those single hair are planted. Everything in the hairline is done with a purpose. It's not some haphazard thing. It's always very detailed, planned and everything. And the graft arrangement is also kind of important, because we place the grafts not in rows, rather in a crisscross manner. That's why the density which you get after a hair transplant is pretty fantastic. It doesn't look unnatural. And this is what it looks like on the second or third day. The scabs obviously start drying out, and if you notice, the density is highest in the frontal area. As we go back, the density sort of spreads out, and that's by design, because we don't want to sharply cut off anywhere in here. It can look a little bit unnatural. And this is 7th day after the transplant was done, and the transplant itself, the healing was pretty fast in him, and the donor area was also healing at the same time as the frontal area. And scabs, once they start becoming loose, around 7 to 8 days time, we call back the patient, we scrub the scabs off. This is the 10th day, where most of the scabs were present in this region, and all of them are gone. What dots you see are mostly the scalp micropigmentation that we talked about earlier. Now this is 4 months after the transplant. I just want to highlight one thing. He was somebody who got very fast results, so I'm not going to compare his results with everybody else, but since he was a very fast grower, most likely because he was in a perfect health condition and his donor area was also large, but that's why he got, this is not a final result, but still at 4 months he's well above our average. Some people get a little lower density, some people get a bit high, but it's kind of a mix. 4 months is not a time where you get final density, and you will come to know what I mean by that. If you look before hair transplant and 4 months later, from his perspective, he's already having results, but it's not full results. These are early results with a lower density. If you see from the sides, it's not fully developed yet. You see a lot of gaps. This will be a maximum of 20 to 30% hair which are grown, and if you look from the top, it's not fully dense yet. The hair have to exit the scalp as well as they have to grow longer in order to give the full density, and over a period of next 3 to 4 months, that is till the 9 months, he'll get the full density, as we'll see ahead. Now at the same time, when the crown front area was treated with a hair transplant, we did start minoxidil and finasteride for this region, because we didn't do a hair transplant here, and it was also started to show this fine kind of a hair growth which was typical of minoxidil and finasteride. It starts around 3 and 4 months time, so he was responding both well to the transplant as well as to the medical treatment, and this is very crucial. You should do both of these things side by side. Only doing a transplant or only doing medical treatment, you will get only partial results. If you combine them both, you will get the full results. Now 7 months later, now from this is pretty stunning. In a matter of 3 months, he developed this kind of density, and it was really, the patient was really happy. But this is Still not the final result. I'll show you the final result shortly. uh, what happens in this stage is basically you get most of your hair in the growth phase. Whatever we had planted was in hibernation till 4 months. Now it has all started in growing, so that's why the appearance looks so dense and full. And if you see from the 4 months, most of the hair which were fine in the beginning have become larger in size, and a lot of hair places where there was hair missing, now he has gotten hair there as well. This would be about 70 to 80% growth completed, and this is 7 months down the line. This is his photograph from the sides. You can see this nicely growing hair, really speaking. And notice the crown area as well. He is having good starting growth from the minoxidil and finasteride in the crown region as well. These are the results of 9 months after the transplant. So he has kept a very good hairstyle. He could do that because look at the volume of hair he has gotten. This is probably the best result I have given, and because he was a very good candidate, so he could keep his hair the parted the way he wants to. He decided not to do a hair dye, but I generally tell my patients that there is no harm in doing a hair dye if you want, but he liked his salt and pepper appearance, so that's his choice. It was perfect, and every hair it looks as if it is naturally grown. This does not look like a transplant at all. And here you can see the growth is already fully developed, and you'll see the hairline shortly. This is his fully grown hair, and there's no restriction of parting in any direction. You can do it as you want, and this is just a demo of a hairline. Look at the hairline. Can you even tell that this is a hair transplant being done? Absolutely fantastic hairline. I just want to pause this here for 1 minute. Just notice the hairline design that we did. This was that frontal peak that we designed, and this was this zigzag pattern. It's all of this is planned with foresight that this is going to look natural in future. These are those sentinel hair, if you can notice them. A few scattered fine hair that we planted. All of this has contributed him to get his best result as possible. This comparison of pre and post, and that's the transformation that you want in your hair. It's fantastic. And again, these are pre and post photographs. If you look at the pre and post, you would never guess this is the same guy. And that's what I see even after years and years of doing hair transplant. This kind of transformations is something which really blew me away. This looks so natural, so dense, and the patient obviously is going to be happy. And I was glad to be the part of his hair transplant journey, and he kept really nice WhatsApp communications and really came for a visit so I could take his photographs. So I'm very glad. I'm thankful of him that he allowed me to do this, and that's it. So hair transplant will give you a really nice result. You cannot compare that with the medical result you have. So don't be afraid of getting your hair transplant done. I see so many people resistant to the idea of hair transplant. They just think that it might be a painful procedure or it might look unnatural. None of this is true. If you do your hair transplant from a right person, right surgeon, look at his degree, look at his qualifications, look at the experience that he's having, and then choose your hair transplant, you will not go wrong. You'll get the best result, and it's about changing life. And you do get your life changed when your look gets transformed to this extent.